Hey everyone, welcome to another video of Navigating Docker with Captain, in which we bring Docker experts like Docker Captain and learn from their experiences, journey, and everything. So today we have amazing guest Mohammed. Hey, I am Pradumna. Mohammed is a senior backend engineer. He's a Sneak ambassador, and of course a Docker Captain. I will let Mohammed introduce himself. Yes, go ahead, Mohammed.
Hi, thanks for the invitation. Yes, I'm Mohammad-Ali, and I'm a backend engineer based in Freiburg, Germany currently.
Thank you for the introduction. And Germany is a beautiful place. I have prepared some questions to structure this interview in a better way. So let's get started. My very first question is, when did you first get involved in Docker and the Docker community?
I was working in 2015. I was working at a company, and they had Django with Python for backend. And when I joined, it took me like a whole month to get onboarded into the project, and it was still not very successful because I couldn't install all the dependencies, and the different projects had different uh, kind of dependencies that wouldn't very inconsistent with each other, and uh, I couldn't run the tests locally. And one of the colleagues said, okay, maybe use Docker to run the tests, because we at the time had also CI jobs that would run in Docker. And at the time I had no clue what Docker was, and I think Docker was 2 years old. And yeah, so then I learned. I spent almost a week to learn Docker and how to run it, and then next thing you know, like a month later, I was creating CI/CD pipelines for other projects in the company and basically advocating for Docker. So I think that was the initial point of my experience with Docker.
This is quite interesting. Like I asked this question to a couple of people, and it's really great to see how they get started in some different ways and different formats, and how their Docker journey, to be honest, is started. Like some started with content, some started like company, and some people told me, okay, they started because their company needs other DevOps person. So this is really interesting to learn from this. Yeah. So let's jump to the next question. Was there something specific that propelled you to achieve the Docker captain status?
Okay, I think there were actually quite a lot of things combined together. So uh, before becoming a Docker captain, I was, and I am still a Docker community leader, which means I organize meetups. When I started, I think it was 2 years ago, I was assigned to the community in Zurich, Switzerland, because that was the closest city to my place, and I had organized a few meetups there, online meetups, and then I slowly started creating a Docker community in Freiburg, where I live, and started creating local meetups, in-person meetups, and then I also had a few talks in Docker community all hand events. I remember it almost a year ago. We had this local meetup that was a watching party for one of these Docker community uh, all hand events, and I had a talk there. And also at the time, I had a Docker. I had a blog post on Docker's blog, written together with Ajit. And then I also had my own blog, Medium blog, that was active for a year, I guess, and I was writing into it weekly. And yeah, a lot of things. So and what else did I miss? Something? Yeah. So and I was also I knew a lot of people at Docker because I was active on Twitter, and I had a few sessions with them through the feature interviews or user interviews with Docker employees. So I think all of them combined together, and the fact that I was already in touch with a few people at Docker, like they led me to become a captain.
I really like this. I really like this answer because this shows like there's a not a kind of roadmap, kind of journey. It's like consistent adding value to the community, like in different formats, like giving talks, building the community, talking to the people, giving the feedback, and I think this also add up and it becomes a big thing. And it's not like a roadmap, okay, you do this thing and you will get this role. Yeah, this is quite interesting to learn. Yeah, thank you so much for the answer. Yeah,
Thanks.
let's jump to the next question. In your opinion, what are the some of the most underappreciated feature or benefit of using Docker?
I think Docker has a lot of features that are less known or less popular. Uh, I would say my favorite part of Docker is Docker Compose because it has a lot of features that yeah. So we use Docker Compose in many places. We use Docker Compose in CI jobs. Basically, we would spin up a MongoDB container inside the CI job inside another container. So we had Docker in Docker jobs in GitLab CI. And yeah, now I have started a project which is with Django, and instead of writing all the Kubernetes Helm charts and stuff, I basically deployed my whole application through Docker Compose because yeah, so there are also tools that you would just give them your Docker Compose configuration and they would just translate it to Kubernetes. But also Docker Compose has a lot of features like health checks that I didn't know about until like a month ago. You have replication like in Kubernetes. You can yeah give your service in Docker Compose multiple replicas, and there's a lot of features and at Docker Compose that yeah so we can use. For example, if we have a project that we want to deploy, but it's just very new and we don't want to spend a lot of time writing all these YAML files for Kubernetes.
I am a huge fan of Docker Compose, and the reason is like the scalability and the local development. Like for example, if you want to test out some open source project quickly, they're already Dockerized and use Compose. You can just spin up a single command, Docker Compose up, and that's it. That's how you set up the project without setting up anything locally. So yeah, that is super awesome. Yeah, anything you want to add?
Yeah, so in my previous, not the previous, the one before that, we were because we had a microservices structure, and we had a shared repository, GitHub repository, with the base Docker Compose configuration. That if you would spin up, it would spin up the production version of stuff, and we had this repo as a submodule in all other repos. And if you wanted to work on this part of the application, we would spin the rest of the things like the based on this shared compose configuration, but then we would override that part of the service with the development environment so that you could test your local version of this project with the rest of the system, and that was really awesome. So that was also one place that I really enjoyed using Docker Compose because it made the whole thing much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Double down to that, like the overriding thing is super cool. Like you write your whole configuration in a single file and create different files to override them. That is super amazing. Yeah. So yeah, I let's head over to next question. I think this is a spicy one. Can you share an epic failure you experienced as a developer and what you learned from it?
Yeah, so one thing I would like to say about this question is that usually the thing that is visible to other people is the successes. So like people would see that I have a talk in this conference, but the thing that is not visible is that for every talk that I get accepted into, I get like 20 rejections. And that so it's like constant rejections and failures, and among them there are some successes, and these successes are things that are mostly visible and people would remember. And I would say this is the thing that if I want to be successful, I should not be afraid of failing because that's a part of the journey. And then it's like I don't know video games. So if you're play Mortal Kombat, you don't play to win always, but by losing also you're learning and you're improving. And I think that's the main point.
I really loved how you portray with the game analogy. 100% with that. Of course, we play game just for the enjoyment, just for the journey. There is always not a case like a we win. And of course, I can relate with your CFPs and submission, because I am also submitting, and in 10 or 15 when I get accepted for single one. So of course it is not like a win-win-win. Of course, you there's a lots of things go behind the scenes, and there is a one accepted, of course. Thank you for sharing. Absolutely, this is why we are doing this thing, just to be transparent and let people know.
Exactly. No worries. Yeah, so it's mostly about being active and like using your time the best way you can. It's not about being successful and winning the whole time. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, let's head over to fifth question. What are the key ingredients to building an amazing engineering culture?
Yeah, that's a tricky question. I would say having solid standards in the beginning. So an example I can give is that I joined the company like 4 years ago, and there was almost no engineering culture, as you might call it. So there was not a single line of test code written, and yeah, things the code was becoming very hard to maintain because then it wasn't really written in a standard way, and there was almost no standard. And then we said, okay, we have to kind of rescue this whole project, and we started creating a new project to shift the logic into that. And then from the very beginning we said, okay, we don't want to have the same experience, so we said 100% test coverage in the very beginning. We set it as a very solid requirement for the project, and we actually created CI jobs that would check it. If your test wouldn't cover every single line of code in the project, you couldn't possibly merge the pull request there. And then after a time, so I changed the CI, and by mistake, it was broken in the sense that if one of your tests would fail, then it would still go green because the return value was not kind of propagated or something. And then we didn't realize it until 6 months ago because we never pushed a pull request to the remote repo that had failing tests, because so it wasn't the CI anymore that was basically forcing us to do the right thing, but it a culture was created around all these standards that we were upholding, and that I think was the first step to create a culture for engineering culture, as you might call it. Yeah.
That was really interesting, like how it, like, from the mistake to building of the culture. And this is quite interesting, and I always learn this thing. Okay, sometimes some things get implemented when you do something wrong. For example, um, your production application got break, then you started writing the tests and everything, but before that you don't care because you think everything will go smoothly. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
No worries.
We are at the end of this interview. So very final question is, tell us about a new project you're excited about, or something new you are learning.
Sure. I am recently very much into security, and especially supply chain security. And I'm actually writing a book on this topic currently. Hopefully, will come out in a year or something. Uh, I will probably give more details on social media in the coming months. But yes, that's something I'm really excited about, and I'm actually also learning a lot from writing it, because then I have to do very thorough research and learn things inside out, and that's really interesting.
First, super good luck with your book. Of course, it will be amazing. And second thing, I agree with you. Like when you write something, you do research, like for blog or anything you do. Like this is why it is super powerful when you write something, because you go back and forth. Okay, you understand the concept again and then write it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Again,
sorry,
thank you
sorry
so
to
much.
interrupt. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I
yeah. Go
just
ahead.
wanted to say that the best way to learn is to teach. That's it. thing that I really have experienced throughout my career. So if you want to really learn something inside out, yeah, you should teach it.
Of course, this is why I started creating content on my socials, on my blog, because of course I think when I started learning about DevOps tools, I think I learned so much by creating content, because so I go back and forth and go deep dive and confirm those things, reiterate those things. And of course this helped me a lot to verify learning as well. Of course, I 100% agree with you. So last thing, thank you so much again for accepting, and it was so much fun talking with you. And every link Mohammed mentions, like his socials, the project he's working, I will put in the comments below. Do check it out. And of course, Mohammed also started creating content on Twitter, sharing the Docker and Docker tips. Do check out that as well. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in another episode. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.